They take pride in what they did, but they killed the American Marines that were invading Lebanon in the 80s. They killed them on Lebanese soil. So we have to be careful not to be blinded by cut out facts. Because if the Americans were invading your country, if you're not American, they were invading your country and bombing your streets, and you are in the middle of the war, and there's an Israeli invasion ongoing in the same time, when the Americans and the Israelis are working together in occupying Beirut, the resistance group that was defending its presence and the Lebanese sovereignty and the Lebanese people was attacking the Marines as allies of the Israelis. They did not go and terrorize American civilians in the United States of America. Let
Yes.
alone, they did not even fight them in Iraq when they invaded Iraq. By the way, Hezbollah has no presence in that sense. So this is, have your facts checked in one sense or the other. And number two, about the 8th October rockets. Hezbollah is just a part of a whole region that is staying in their hands. The only oppressor and the only colonizer here is the Zionist entity that brings them. Why are they called settlers? Have you ever asked yourselves, for everyone who's viewing, why do they call them settlers? Because they come from elsewhere and they settle. These are illegal settlements of land that is still owned by people. They confiscated their lands. So when you want to speak Palestine or Lebanon or this struggle, you have to start by whose land is it and who's the oppressor and who's the liberator. On October 8th, Hezbollah started a war of solidarity in which more than half of the Lebanese were proud about, because people in Gaza, after being besieged for more than a decade, were being annihilated, and they still are. Multiple war crimes are being. Why don't you mind that the whole world backs Israel as it fires rockets at Yemen for standing with the Palestinians? Why is it wrong for Hezbollah, the Lebanese, to support the Palestinians by attacking military bases? They have to understand that the double standards, I know they work for them because they think that the white supremacy still works and the Western civilization can order things left, right, and center. But in this part of the world, the people have chosen not to, and they have given a lot of blood and a lot of sacrifices from their own countries and nations and people, to the extent where they're not going to concede at that point, Kivok. They're never going to concede.
This is the sad reality, unfortunately. Ghadi, Nasrallah's assassination was mourned by prominent Lebanese Christian leaders such as Suleiman Frangieh, Michel Aoun, and in this regard, I'm going to show some of their statements which were translated by Newsweek. The title of the article says, Nasrallah's death mourned by Lebanese Christian leaders, legend is born. Prominent Christian political leaders in Lebanon released statements on Saturday eulogizing Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah after he was confirmed killed in an Israeli attack. Suleiman Frangieh, leader of Lebanon's Christian political party Marada and Hezbollah's preferred candidate for the presidency, posted a brief statement on X, formerly Twitter, on Sunday. He says, the symbol is gone, the legend is born, and the resistance continues. Former Lebanese President Michel Aoun, a Christian and founder of the Free Patriotic Movement Party, which is allied with Hezbollah, posted a lengthier statement praising Nasrallah as a martyr for the country. He said, with the martyrdom of His Eminence, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, Lebanon loses a distinguished and honest leader who led the national resistance on the path of victory and liberation. He was faithful to his promise and loyal to his people, who reciprocated his love, trust, and commitment. The former Lebanese president described Nasrallah as an honorable friend. He also warned against the dangers Lebanon is witnessing as a result of the ongoing Israeli aggression, calling for national unity. May God grant the great martyr a spacious place in heaven, and condolences to his family, the resistance, all his loved ones, and all of Lebanon. I follow many different platforms on X specifically, and many people who say they are Christians. I'm talking about people in the West, it's mind-boggling for them to see that these Christian leaders and many ordinary Christians in Lebanon, Syria, and Palestine support Hezbollah. What are they missing in this context? These people who follow the Middle Eastern affairs, that they are shocked and surprised to
They're
see the
missing
Christians.
Christianity. The only thing they're missing here is the actual Christianity. Because Christianity's home is Palestine, Syria, and Lebanon, and Galilee, and Qana in South Lebanon. This is the path of Christ. So we are the indigenous Christians of the world. And what the Zionists have been doing to the indigenous Christians of the Levant for all these decades is not different than what they've been doing to the Muslims. Their colonization and apartheid on the indigenous peoples doesn't have to do with religion. This is why the struggle for liberation does not have a religion, or it's not really linked to Islam or to Christianity. Shireen Abu Akleh is a Christian American Palestinian journalist. They sniped her, they assassinated her, and then in her funeral, they attacked the coffin and the people who were carrying the coffin. This is how they treat the Christians of the Christians that are directly genetically linked. We are actual Semites, Kevork. The Christians of this land are the Semites of this land. So because they do not understand how Christians are, because they do not want to see the Christianity of the actual Holy Land, they prefer to see the Zionist Christianity that was birthed and made in their books by their scholars in the 17th and 18th century. They renewed the whole idea of Christianity and used it to colonize us. They're lying. There is no way there is no way that Michel Aoun or Sulaiman Frangieh would not actually mourn Sayyid Nasrallah, because if it weren't for Nasrallah and his people's and his fighters' struggles, there wouldn't be a sovereign Lebanon. They wouldn't be a sovereign country for us to rule in, or for them to be presidents of or governing in. Lebanon would have been just like Palestine, because we are talking about an expansionist, brutal, rogue, apartheid, militarized, radicalized regime. We don't even call them a country. They are an entity on our countries. They started out with a piece of land, and their expansion is always brutal. So if there weren't a resistance and armed resistance in Lebanon, nothing would confirm that we wouldn't be living exactly the life that people in Jerusalem are living today, which is oppression, which is you cannot even send your people to school. You cannot even do anything without their approval, under occupation of an apartheid system.
Now they're discussing in the Jerusalem Post whether Lebanon is part of Israel's promised territory, and they're bringing examples of from the religion that probably Lebanon was part or is part of Israel's promised land, which up until this moment we don't know where are the borders of this Israeli
I don't know who promised
state.
them that land. Who promised them that land, and who are they? So if you choose now to change your religion, you become entitled to my home. On what basis are they coming and taking our land? And how do you become of that religion? Sometimes we see them bringing people from all around the world, from India, from North Africa, to confiscate our lands. They are not even indigenous to any sort of Judaism, let alone to this country. They're just newly converted Jews. This is a total lie. There's no promised land. What promised land? Who promised them that land? It's a man-made promise to colonize our land.
Yes, this article has been deleted by Jerusalem Post, but I have archived. I have in the archive saved this article. I don't know who pressed them to delete that article. Unfortunately, this is something that is very important for the people to understand. Like, if one day I belonged to a religion A and I came to your country and I said, my book says that your home is mine because according to my book, my God, who I believe in, it says so. I don't think that you will give your home to me. I think you will try to kick me out of your home. And if I use violence, I think you will use violence again. Otherwise, you will be out of your home and you will be in the streets. And I don't think any person with a dignity who would accept to be kicked out of his home, especially if he has a family, children, and a wife. So this is a very basic, natural human instinct, in my opinion, that any dignified person has in him or her. Probably some people do not have this dignity in them. That's why they are surprised that there is armed resistance against the occupation, and it is designated as an occupation even under international law. Therefore, all this talk about whether it is resistance or it's terrorism, it's just a tiring discussion circulating in an empty, vicious circle that will lead to nowhere. So I think only the people of the region will be deciding, let's say, the fate of Lebanon, the fate of Syria, the fate of Palestine, and all the occupied territories in this regard. Today, Ghadi, the Hezbollah's deputy leader, Naim Qasem, gave the first address after the assassination of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. What were the main points that he mentioned? And in your opinion, what's the next step for Hezbollah now?
Well, he mentioned that in their structure, in their leadership, in their organization, all the gaps have been filled and they are in place. He mentioned that he reiterated that the struggle will continue, and he highlighted that the missiles and the rockets and their attacks have continued in the same pace, calling for all the psychological state of the supporters to be stabilized and not to follow psychological warfare that the Israelis are carrying on. And they also said they gave more details about who was there present with Sayyid Nasrallah at the time of the martyrdom. And they also said that they haven't still yet, as Shura, as like the highest leadership that actually elects and votes for a new general secretary of the organization. They said they're going to do this as soon as possible, and they are dealing with a new kind of war. The blow was big, but they promised and vowed to go on, and he promised the victory. This is summarizing his speech. I think now their priority, Kevork, is to find places for displaced people and to get ready for the ground invasion, which is inevitable at that point.
You think it's
And
imminent?
I suppose so, because the Israeli motion in Kiryat Shmona and in the border areas with their tanks has been in an ascending manner. They have new equipment with them. And because this is what they're trying to do, they're trying to eradicate Hezbollah and to take some land. Now, people are speaking about negotiations in politics, 1701, the UN agreement for the borders. I believe this is going to be as valid as negotiations were valid for Gaza. That's it for me. I don't buy that. So I think it's theatricals for these forces like the French and the Europeans and the Arabs, just to say that we're trying our best to do something. We're not leaving you to be annihilated like that. We're trying. But I think there is no way that Hezbollah would back down before a full Gaza ceasefire. And I mean, this was Nasrallah's request to them. This was kind of his last word. He said, "We will not stop in the south until in Gaza it stops, until our Palestinian brothers reach an agreement or a ceasefire. So I think this war will go on and on until there's a resolution, a full resolution.
Hadi, do you believe this is a question I've been trying to find answers, and I saw a video of Said Nasrallah. He's speaking his vision about Palestine. In your view, did Nasrallah believe in a one-state solution where the Arabs, the Jews, the Christians, everybody live together in a one democratic state? Or did he believe in a two-state solution or in the ethnic cleansing of the Jewish people? I think this is important for the Western audience.
I think he has voiced that in a very old interview with Julian Assange once, and also with Robert Fisk. So I would advise people to try and read about the intellect of this man, because he really reflects the Lebanese nature. He's the you know how you say the girl next door? He's the neighbor next door. He's in politics just like most of the Lebanese people, and he reflects the non-radical Lebanese Islam, the very secular, blended kind of society that we live in Beirut. He was brought up in Christian area. His father had a
Armenian.
supermarket. Yes, exactly, in Karantina area where there's Armenians, Christians. It's like a blended, pleasant kind of ghetto, not in a bad way, you know. It's where the blended lower structures of the society live around the city, where they come from different places or further places. So, anyways, this man reflects the actual non-radical nature of Lebanese people, and his stances were one state with equal rights for.
Yes, I think this is what he said precisely. And speaking of that, he was born in a Christian neighborhood. I've watched an interview of him on the Future TV. I think this was with Zaven. He was an Armenian journalist, and he asks him about his childhood. And he says, I was born in an Armenian neighborhood, and I had an Armenian friend. And once we were like, street arguing together, just like any other young person, he hit me with a rock. He says, behind my head. And he says, until this moment when I remove my amame, or this head, the hat that he wears, the religious one,
his turban,
the turban. He says, the injuries are still there. And if this person is watching me now, I hope that he contacts me. I remember this very well. I just want to reply to Esrog Daily. He says, Kevork, will you be able to maintain your lifestyle when Bashar Assad is finally overthrown? I think
you're mistaken, Esrog.
Yeah, I think you have been trying to remove him for 14 years now. Good luck with that. If you want to remove him from power. And secondly,
but what about your lifestyle? I mean, tell us about your lifestyle, Kevork.
I really don't know what are they talking. These people really think that sometimes that Assad has money to pay for people to continue their lifestyle. I think the government in Syria is the one who needs money. So if you have any spare money, guys, want to support the government in Syria, that would be the other way around of this conversation. But I just want to say something about this, because personally, the name of the president is completely irrelevant to me. If he was Bashar, if he was Omar, if he was Muhammad, if he was George, whoever was the president, at that moment when everybody realized that this was an engineered covert operation by the CIA to overthrow the government for the same reasons they are today trying to destroy the resistance, whether it's in Lebanon, whether it's in Gaza, then I realized that it's my also duty, patriotic duty, to not stab this person in the back, because it is his constitutional duty to protect his people and fight against this regime change war. And that is why Hezbollah also intervened in Syria, because they wanted to keep the strategic depth of the resistance. And that's why also Iran supported Syria, and later the Russians also intervened, because they had vital also interests in the country. So this is not about Assad and all this talk about like if Assad is gone, somebody else will replace him. Like you've been trying to, you overthrew Saddam, you overthrew Gaddafi, and what happened afterwards? the people continue resisting against occupation, and now the Americans have to leave the region, whether it's in Iraq or in Syria. So I don't understand this type of questions. People think that we are some sort of, let's say, intellectually less people who cannot govern ourselves, and then if somebody left power, then we will be desperate and we cannot manage our affairs. This is your own way of, as Radi says, you think you're superior on us. You're not. You're not more clever than us. You're not more civilized than us. You're just propagandized by your press, by your Hollywood, by every single visual or all these outlets that you are watching. And they are telling you how to think because you don't have a critical thinking process. If you had any critical thinking, you would not speak like this because you're told how to think. We're not told how to think. We're thinking critically of what's happening in the region, despite the fact that we watch mainstream media, we have Hollywood, we have Netflix, and we have everything, but because we have a critical approach and we don't buy everything we see and we listen in the press. Unlike you, we're just like parroting what the press is telling you. I think among us, it's very obvious who is the parrot and who is the intellectual.
That was one good monologue, Rand. I hope you got that off your chest, Kevor.
Yeah. It's like, who are these people? Seriously. I want to use other words,
I'm sorry, but I'm hearing some pounds in Beirut while you're talking. So I let you rant on your own. So we have some pounds in Beirut across the mountains.
May God really bless the people of Lebanon and protect them from these barbarian and maniacal aggressions against them, bombing all the residential areas. I've been watching the footage. There is nothing that can justify this. And if you are for this bombardment, you should look into the mirror, because if you look into the mirror, you will find a monster. And it's very easy. You just have to look straight in the mirror and look into your eyes and you will see a soulless person. This is just the final commentary on this. Radi, I would like to thank you. I would like to ask you to stay safe, although I know this is a difficult thing to do under such circumstances, under the barbaric bombardment of Beirut.
They're on their killing spree. They want to do in Lebanon what they did in Gaza, and we're going to avenge for all the innocent people that have been slaughtered by standing our ground and not allowing them to take any inch of our country. You guys also stay safe, because it takes a lot of bravery in these times to speak out against genocide. So all of you stay safe and keep speaking up against the genocide.
Yes. And we have found the evidence that Bashar al-Assad is paying for me. Somebody named Bashar al-Assad on YouTube just donated money. And he says, did you ask for money, bro? Anyways, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to today's live streaming. I really appreciate you all for tuning in. If you like this content, you can hit the like button, share this video with your friends. And don't forget that the X account of Radi Francis is in the description below. She publishes both in English and in Arabic. So whether you're from Arabic countries or from the West, you can follow her. Go support indigenous people and what they are saying about their countries. Radi, thank you so much, Habibti.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Al Jazeera.
We chose Purina One True Instinct to power Sam with the high-protein nutrition he craves. True Instinct gave him the energy to explore and strong muscles primed for anything. All the signs he's living the life he was born to live. Another great day, Sam.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. But only you can prevent wildfires.
Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani International
We chose Purina One True Instinct to power Sam with the high-protein nutrition he craves. True Instinct gave him the energy to explore and strong muscles primed for anything. All the signs he's living the life he was born to live. Another great day, Sam.
Israeli airstrikes hit Lebanon as the defense minister warns the next stage of the war against Hezbollah will start soon. Hello there, I'm Laura Kyle. This is Al Jazeera live from Doha. Also coming up, Hezbollah's deputy chief remains defiant, saying his armed group is ready for any Israeli ground invasion. In Gaza, Israeli attacks kill at least 28 Palestinians. Emergency teams are searching through the rubble for survivors. And far-right French leader Marine Le Pen goes on trial along with dozens of her party members. They're accused of embezzling EU funds. Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant says that the next stage of the war against Hezbollah will begin soon. He told mayors of Israeli towns on the border with Lebanon that the new action would allow residents to return to their homes. Several more Israeli airstrikes have been carried out in the Bekaa Valley in East Lebanon. The health ministry said an overnight attack in Hermel killed at least 12 people. Strikes also hit the town of Ain Atta al-Arz in the Baalbek district. Hamda Salhout is live for us now from Amman in Jordan. That's because the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from reporting from within Israel. Hamda, first of all, what have we been hearing from Israeli officials on what happens next?
Gallant has said that the next phase of this conflict with Hezbollah is going to be soon, and that it's going to be a significant step in restoring security along the northern border. But earlier in the day, he said that the assassination of Nasrallah was simply not enough, that Israel still has a lot of work to do, and they want to destroy Hezbollah's military capabilities entirely. There have been a lot of fears about this looming ground invasion into Lebanese territory from the south, and it's something Israel is actually gearing up for. It's causing widespread international concern, with allies like the United States saying that they do not want this to happen. But Israel has said that all of the options are on the table, and they are not afraid to pursue this course of action because they say they have a goal in mind and they are going to do anything to achieve it.
And Hamda, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu been hearing comments on Iran. He's been saying that people there will be free a lot sooner than they think. What should we read into that?
Well, certainly an unusual message by the Israeli prime minister, who wanted to address the Iranian people directly. But look, in it, he said that there's no place in the Middle East that Israel will not reach. And you'll recall back in April, Israel actually did conduct some strikes in Iran in retaliation for more than 350 missiles and drones that were launched from Iran in response to the killing of an Iranian commander in Syria. But with all of that aside, Israel has said that they're going to attack anyone who wants to get involved. Let's remember that just last week, the Iranian president had said that Hezbollah cannot stand alone against Israel, and previously Hezbollah had said that Hamas cannot stand alone against Israel. So Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to send a message here saying that anyone who wants to get involved in the conflict is going to get hit and struck with the Israeli military. He also said that there are challenging days ahead, but again, that Israel has its objectives in mind and it's going to do anything in its power to achieve them, even if that means a ground invasion into Lebanon.
Hamda Salhoud bringing us the latest lines there from Amman in Jordan. Many thanks, Hamda. Well, Hezbollah's leadership has released its first video message since its Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah was killed in an Israeli attack on Friday. The group's deputy leader, Naim Qassem, called for patience whilst it replaces commanders killed in Israeli airstrikes. But he told supporters Hezbollah's ability to strike back was undiminished.
The Islamic resistance will continue to confront the Israeli enemy in support of Gaza and Palestine, in defense of Lebanon and its people, and in response to the assassinations and killing of civilians. We will face any possibility and are prepared if the Israelis decide to launch a ground invasion, as the resistance forces are ready for ground combat.
Well, that statement came hours after an Israeli airstrike hit an apartment block near central Beirut, killing at least 3 people. The attack in the Kola area is the first outside the southern suburb of Dakhia, where Israel has been targeting senior Hezbollah figures. Lebanon's caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati says the country is prepared to deploy troops as peacekeepers south of the Litani River to counter any threat of an Israeli ground invasion.
We in Lebanon are ready to implement UN Resolution 1701, and immediately upon the implementation of the ceasefire, Lebanon is ready to send the Lebanese army to the area south of the Litani River and carry out its full duties in coordination with UN peacekeepers in the south.
Well, France's Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot has urged both Israel and Hezbollah to show restraint and consider proposals for a ceasefire.
Il reste un espoir, mais il reste peu de temps.
There's hope, but time is very limited. I urge Israel to stop any ground incursion and stop firing. I urge Hezbollah not to take any step that would threaten security in the region. I'd like to remind everyone that the situation depends on the parties concerned.
And here we're looking at live pictures of Tyre in Lebanon. Then we can see a fire burning as night falls over the town there. Let's bring in Dorsa Jabari. She's in Beirut for us. We'll talk a little bit more about strikes that we've been seeing ongoing across Lebanon in just a moment. First of all, just talk us through these efforts by Hezbollah to regroup.
Well, according to the first official statement that we received from the Deputy Secretary General, it is clear that they are reassuring their support base that even though they have suffered some hits, that they are still going to continue operating, and they did have contingency plans in place for such scenarios. Even though Naim Qassem acknowledged that they have taken some hits and some blows by the recent Israeli attacks on its top leadership, including Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah, that the infrastructure of this group is not going to change. And should Israel venture onto Lebanese territory, as in a land incursion into Lebanon, Hezbollah is ready, despite all the continuous hits that it's been under by Israeli airstrikes in the southern borders between Lebanon and Israel. In terms of structure and within the leadership, in terms of naming the next Secretary General, the Deputy Secretary General said that they have to go through an election process within the Shura Council, and then they will announce the next leader of Hezbollah, and that will come in due time. This video message was really aimed at reassuring a support base in Lebanon that is really at a loss since the assassination of Hassan Nasrallah on Friday. It is a support base that is at loss, not only because they have lost a leader they've known for more than 3 decades, but also because they have been displaced themselves internally. They have been forced to flee their homes, mainly in the southern suburb of Beirut, where Hezbollah's support base is usually based. So there is a lot of emotion currently within the people that support this group. And this message was an attempt to try and reassure this support base that things are really not going to change that drastically, despite the changes that they're going to have to make within the leadership of this group.
And also, we've just seen a huge fire burning in Tyre following an airstrike there. Just as night fell in Beirut, we could still see smoke hanging over the buildings there as well. Talk us through the strikes that have happened across Lebanon today.
Well, it's been another day of bombardment by Israeli forces. We saw that early attack in the capital, in the Kola region of Beirut. And we also saw attacks along the southern border as well. And during one of those attacks in the south, there was a member of the Lebanese army, a soldier that was killed. We also saw strikes in the east of the country. This is just another day and another round of attacks by Israel. We also saw Hezbollah issuing statements that they did respond. There's 7 operations they said they carried out, attacking various points within northern Israel and also east of Haifa. So this back and forth crossfire continues, and certainly Israel taking it to the next level by attacking an area in Beirut that has never been attacked before, that is outside the southern suburbs of the capital.
OK, Dorsa Jabari brings the latest there from Beirut. Many thanks, Dorsa. Let's bring in now Marwan Bashar. He's Al Jazeera's senior political analyst, joins us from London. So, Marwan, the latest that we've been hearing from the Israelis is from the Defence Minister, Yoav Gallant, saying that the next phase of the war against Hezbollah will begin soon. What should we read into that?
Well, clearly a rejection of the attempts by President Biden and President Macron to have a ceasefire. That's first and foremost. Second, that the Israelis are sort of changing their plans as they go along. I mean, they might have had already an understanding that they're going to hit Lebanon in a big way, but the idea of a land invasion has gained currency as the bombings continued unabated now for a couple of weeks, as the mass terror attack against communication devices succeeded in disabling or killing